We have some more Avengers Doomsday news. Victor Von Doom will reportedly take advantage of his resemblance to Tony Stark to present himself as an ally to the MCU. As somebody who doesn't necessarily like the idea of Robert Downey Jr. coming back, I have a little bit that I'd like to say, and of course, we're going to be taking a look at what the internet has to say about this as well. Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name is Kyle, I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. So, what do I personally think about this? If you've been following the channel, I have made my my thoughts on Tony Stark coming back a little bit no, I will say, okay? I am all for Robert Downey Jr. He's one of my favorite actors. I loved him as Iron Man. Iron Man is my favorite character in the entirety of the MCU. But I don't like that they're undoing Endgame, and I personally will have a lot of issues seeing Robert Downey Jr. and this character of Tony Stark playing a different character in Victor Von Doom. And I hope that this isn't really like the entirety of the movie where he walks around kind of like making people go, oh my god, is that Tony? And then he kind of just backstabs everybody. There is potential there, but I would have much rather see a brand new, unique villain in Doctor Doom. I hope that this is just a very, very small part. I hope he spends the majority of the movie with a mask on because, and you know what, like, they can make it work. They've made some fantastic stories and some fantastic movies around, so it's just, I don't like to be negative, but the problem is I can't help but be a little bit negative with this entire Robert Downey Jr. idea. But of course, it's not just about what I think. I wanted to get an opinion on what the internet had to say about this as well. I ended up posting this over on X here saying, also going to make a video on this later this week. If you have any thoughts, drop them below and I will include some of the replies. Thank you again for your time. So we are going to get replies from Marvel updates, from things like that ended up posting this. This is a story that ended up making the Explore page. So replies to this, replies that we've seen online over at X to kind of, again, get a gauge on how people are feeling about this. I don't want this just to be my take on this entire video. And if you would like to join the conversation, follow me on YouTube, or follow me on X, excuse me, at Clen YouTube. You can find the links to the X page at the top of the description with the link tree or the direct link within the YouTube description. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Like and subscribe. Let's get into this. Reno Mike had this to say, Doom running around without a mask is exactly what this film doesn't need. That's the problem, right? But I do understand what the reply is saying over here. They can't hide Robert Downey Jr.'s face for most of the movie since they didn't give him $100 million to hide his face. Robert Downey Jr. is probably going to be the one to kind of sell this movie, and everybody's going to be looking forward to potentially him and Peter kind of coming together and Peter having that emotional moment. It's going to sell. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to work. That's literally Mysterio, yeah, a little bit, a little bit when it comes to that. I remember when you had to wait until the movie to release to actually know what happens. This is what I do miss about this, and what I loved about watching Superman recently. Now, it's weird because Superman, one movie, is kind of turning me into somebody who's looking forward to DC movies. But what I did love about it is we figured out that everything in the trailer was kind of like the first little bit of the movie. So I'm hoping that's the case too. I hope like he comes down, it's like, oh my god, he looks like Tony Stark, and we get all of that out of the way and then actually get into the core of the movie. This has some serious potential, but they need to go about it the right way. Ugh, so they're doing this version of Doom. Now, I'm interested in the reply over here, okay? So I know that there's a lot of different stories when it comes to Doctor Doom, but this is what Grok had to say. Yes, in the 2016-2017 infamous Iron Man series, Victor Von Doom, face healed post-Secret Wars, takes on the Iron Man mantle to redeem himself as a hero after Tony Stark's death. His armor blends a Doom style with Stark's, and he fights villains while seeking alliances. There's also a 2011 what-if story of Demon in Armor, where they body swap, so Doom literally resembles Stark but acts villainously. The MCU rumor echoes the former. I did not know this was a thing. That's so cool. I would have liked to have seen this way more, but the problem is Tony Stark's dead. How cool would that have been, though? Doctor Doom comes down, makes them body swap, and then Tony spawns in wherever Doctor Doom came from and has to make his way over to Earth while he's acting. Oh, that'd be so cool, man. That would be such a cool story, but the problem is we can't exactly do that nowadays, right? Twisty Chase had this to say. Hate this idea. Doctor Doom is way too iconic to be reduced to just an evil Tony Stark. I'm fine with Robert Downey Jr. coming back for a multiverse cameo of some sorts, but using one of Marvel's greatest villains in Iron Man's shadow feels like a waste. Doom deserves better. Honestly, I think this is the best take that we've seen so far. I agree with saying Doctor Doom is way too iconic to be reduced to just an evil Tony Stark. I would be so for a cameo. Him showing up, I don't know what you would do with him. I would prefer, like, if you were to take a look just, like, really, really quickly, if you're going through the multiverse, like, oh my god, Tony's alive over here, and you just kind of have a moment with Tom Holland or maybe his wife or some Pepper. I don't know why her name was escaping me. I would have liked to seen something like that, but that's probably my biggest gripe with it is they are taking down Doctor Doom and just kind of like, hey guys, it's Robert Downey Jr. I can't lie, the worst part about this is what we already know. If we didn't know that it was a revelation in the third act, it would be more of impactful, like Mysterio. Yes, I thought he was good at that time, or Vulture being Peter's girlfriend's dad. You know what's funny is, I thought Mysterio was a good guy in Spider-Man 2, and then I read some things afterwards where it's like, oh my god, what actual idiot could have possibly thought that Mysterio was a good guy? And I was like, oh. Yeah, I was one of those guys, to be honest with you. Jarvis, it's me, Tony Stark. I'm back. Yeah, he's probably just gonna... Wait, is Stark Tower still a thing? He's gonna get the glasses like in the Spider-Man movie. Are those still a thing too? I'm not even sure. Armin had this to say. I think it's a variant that looks like Stark, but then he gets murked by OG Doom, who's going around killing all variants. Oh, that would be a way to make it work. I would really like to see that. I don't know, I'd hate to have Stark Doom be a thing. I'm interested in the reply. Unironically, the best way to hide the real Doom casting and make a holy crap moment, but I don't know if anyone's that creative at Marvel anymore. Actually, that would be solid. If all of this time they were working on a Doctor Doom behind the scenes, and the movie just starts, Tony's there, Doctor Doom, he comes in, does his thing or like whatever the story starts, and then that Doom's killing all the variants. Plus, we did have a leak that I kind of wanted to talk about too, where supposedly somehow in the story of Secret Wars, they're going to get rid of the multiverse and kind of bring it down to one central timeline again. Killing all of the other variants? Oh my god, that's a brilliant idea. I would love that. Dylan had this to say. I'm not going to lie, I don't like this thing where they're trying their best to not bring Stark back to keep the endgame intact, but then have Doom posed as Tony. While sure, it may work and I do not have a solidified opinion until I've seen the final product, the whole thing just sounds weird. Victor's face is scarred. He's going to be wearing a mask most of the time, but it's Robert Downey Jr. They paid him $100 million, so he's going to have his face out. True. At this point, they can bring Tony back as a variant. This movie is just the prelude, I suppose, to Secret Wars. I get that they may want to save the good stuff for Secret Wars. They could throw us straight into the deeper end of the multiverse saga, as it is the second to last movie of the saga. They've gotten the OG X-Men, Robert Downey Jr. Doom, potentially Evans as Steve returning. If they really think they can profit a ton off of Tony Stark, bring him back at this rate. The saga's almost over. Robert Downey Jr. is paid literal generational wealth. Screw it and go wild. It won't affect Tony's death, and they have proven it with Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. Not a bad idea, actually, with that. Now, regardless of what I say here, I'm excited for whatever outcome they go for to interconnect Stark into this movie. If it's a variant, or Victor pulling trickery, or both, I'm excited how it'll go down regardless. Now, something that I did forget to mention, and I love what Dylan had to say about this, and I ultimately, while I do have my critiques about this idea and it makes me worry, I'm not going to judge until I actually see the movie. And at this point, I trust the Russo brothers. I love their Avengers movies so far. The things that are coming out now that's kind of making me think, ooh, I don't know if I'd be interested in that, but they keeps pulling me in. They keep making good movies. I miss when you would find out the plot for movies when watching the movie in question. Agreed, leaks are a horrible, horrible thing in any sort of media. Apollo had this to say, this honestly could be cool. They could do a lot with the plot, and I think it would be fun. On the other hand, having the only Doom in the MCU be a Tony Stark lookalike or version and not his own unique character, yeah, that's where it would be weak. As Twisty said earlier, you're kind of putting a big damper on Doctor Doom as a character. But if we do take that idea and just have the Doctor Doom that wants to kill all the other variants, just, murk Robert Downey Jr. right at the beginning, that would be so hype. I'm going to miss going to the movies and experiencing plot twists. You know what? Now I'm kind of hoping that we get that. But again, I do agree with that, okay? Lila had this to say, I'm ready for this cycle. You guys cry and drag it for months, then line up for tickets anyways, and boom, it makes $1 billion. Yep. And I know there's always going to be people saying I haven't watched anything since Endgame, but this is the state of Marvel fans, and Nintendo fans are the same way. Like when the Switch 2 came out and everybody was crying about the price, every single one of you guys are going to be lining up like dogs, just ready to consume that next product. And you know what? I'm part of the problem too, but I'm not crying about the movie, right? I just, I'm somebody who's a fan who cares, and this idea for the movie I'm not particularly excited about. But those people are, it's like, I'm done with Marvel, I'm not watching anything anymore. Those same people are going to be the guys like buying the pre-sale tickets. It's so true, man. I like this idea because if Tom Holland were in this, it would be interesting to see his reaction to seeing Tony again, but it being Doctor Doom. FYI, I'm not confirming or denying he'll be in the movie. Marvel could be hiding characters that weren't shown off during the act reveal. I hope that's the case, man. But that is the only thing that I'm actually looking forward to, is what Tom Holland's reaction, or what Tom Holland's Spider-Man reaction will be like. Especially like if they're in a group of people and nobody knows who Tom Holland is. And I don't know off the top of my head if the Spider-Man movie is going to be coming out before Avengers Doomsday. Regardless, man, I'm excited to see what's happening, okay? Nightwalker had this to say, can you imagine Tony meets up with the Avengers and tells him that something is wrong. They help him out, and he does so in return probably, only for them to either slowly kill off or just take down one of their strongest combatants and then make the reveal that he is Doom. It might sound cringe or reused, but I truly think this will be something well worth seeing in this film. Robert Downey Jr. could pull it off so seamlessly too, dude. He is a fantastic actor, but the problem is, I do agree with Sean in saying that could be a good twist if we didn't already know that he was playing Doom. The Nightwalker ended up replying and said, I hear that, but it would be more impactful in a sense because of the fact that we know Robert Downey Jr. is Doom, and that has been 8 years since he appeared on the MCU screen. It's a good thing, too, that we don't know too much about his motivations or what he's planning to do, too. I'm more so with Sean over here, but it could still work. It could still work. The problem here is that Marvel movies were anchored by Robert Downey Jr.'s personality being a consistent audience draw. He knew this, so he was demanding like $100 million per movie. They tried to pull out of that, and the franchise tanked. Now they have to do whatever it takes to reinsert him. They don't have to, though. They don't have to. The quality of the movies have actually dipped, and it's not because of Robert Downey Jr. Movies have succeeded without Robert Downey Jr. He's just helpful, obviously. But if you want to continue the conversation with Avengers Doomsday, why don't you take a look at our last video that we made on the topic? You know, diving more into the story. I would love to have you over there. Thank you very much for watching the video, everybody. Take care, guys.